Yeah, it was a Long Beach show. It was a gentleman that was he was going from table to table, and he was real sneaky about it. He was pretty good because the other guys didn't notice, but I could see it in his eyes that he was up to something. So I started watching him, and he would look at a coin and flip it off the table into his bag underneath. So when he did that, he saw that I was watching him, and he took off to go to the next table, and he seen that I was coming after him. I jumped over the table. I have the only 1893S silver dollar in the sock pack in the blue envelope. That's the only one known. It was a couple of years ago. I bought a pretty sizable deal in Dallas, and that was another one that kind of made me nervous because it was so big that I had to carry it in my car, and I was watching my rearview mirror like a hawk, just making sure that nobody was following me. I mean, even though I was pretty sure nobody was, but in such a big city like Dallas, you just don't know. And that's the biggest thing is just your surroundings. You got to be careful. Just got to be just extra careful. And you really get to learn people without any words at all. You can learn kind of what they're thinking, and it's just if you play with them long enough, you can figure it out.
Hey guys, this is Drew with Acoustic Collectibles. Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, we'll be talking to Rodney Levingston. He's a very experienced and coin dealer that we see as a mentor, especially in the coin hobby. We've been doing numismatics and coin dealing for over 3 years, so it's been just an honor to be able to get to know him. Rodney, just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Rodney, and I've been coin dealer for 25 years full time, and been doing coins most of my life, and it's just been nothing but fun. I mean, just like everybody always says, that if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't remember working even an hour in this industry. But it's just so much fun. Love doing the shows, and it's great seeing you guys at the shows too. Yeah, it's just it's turned into something that just so enjoyable every day. I love coming out here and working,
Yeah, so what got you kind of into coin collecting to begin with and then into coin dealing later?
Well, I remember I was probably 3 or 4 years old. My grandpa had a big handful of Morgan silver dollars, and I just remember looking at them and just was enthralled with them and started reading books about them and read every book I could find on silver dollars just to learn more about them. And probably about a year later, my grandpa's house burned down, and I remember seeing that same batch of silver dollars in just one big silver clump, and it was just a shame that happened. But to this day, my dad and I are still trying to find that clump of silver dollars. He knows it's somewhere, he just can't find it. But it would be really cool to find that. That's what got me started, in the coin industry, is just seeing that clump of silver dollars and just wanting to learn more about them.
Well, I think, which is a question that is very important to most people, is that in that moment, how did you handle failure and something like, because there's so many dealers out there that get so many wins, right? But they just don't know how to handle big losses or big failures. How did you not only, handle the situation, but come back and want to still work on coins?
Well, what I've learned is from reading as much as I could before I bought my very first coin, is that's how you can win from the situation. I mean, there's been many failures, of course, but by learning as much as you can about a certain piece that you want to buy before you buy it, will keep you out of trouble. I mean, if you try to buy stuff that you don't know anything about, everybody knows that's not the way to go, and you're just setting yourself up for failure there. But if you learn about it, knowledge is king. So the more you learn about it, the better off you'll be.
So you kind of used, the situation to learn from the situation and then become more well-versed in, what brought you joy to begin with in the numismatic hobby. And how did that kind of transfer to coin dealing? Because I don't think you've done coin dealing full-time your whole life, correct?
Correct, yeah. When I was in college, I went to college for an oil and gas degree. I got my oil and gas degree, but there was no jobs available when I graduated. So I was working in a grocery store called Brookshire's there, it was in Kilgore, Texas, and wound up cutting meat. So I cut meat for probably 18 years of my life, and that was my career for for those 18 years. But I did coins on the side. Did them as much as I possibly could. And I'd go to any coin show that would come around, and if I had time, I'd go to the coin show and find. I was really interested in GSA material, soft packs, the blue envelope soft packs, the hard pack non-CC GSAs, and every one that I'd find at a show, I'd buy it and put it up, and of course you go to a show, maybe see one or two pieces, but I'd buy every one of them I could find and just put it up, and it turned into a career, just mainly just specializing with the GSA programs. It was so interesting to learn about that, and that's what I kind of focused on was the GSA silver dollars. But it's like I say, it's turned into a really nice career.
Yeah. So you started with Brookshire Brothers, and you were managing there, correct?
Yes, I turned into a meat department manager after a few years. I worked my way up, and then wound up working for Brookshire's, and then worked for Sam's Club. My wife and I, we decided to move to Colorado just for a change of pace. After so many years, just get tired of doing the same old thing every day. So
a few more mountains, maybe.
Yeah, a few more mountains, and moved to Colorado, and stayed up in the Denver area for a couple of years, and then worked for Sam's Club while I was up there, and then got transferred to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Was there for 2 years, and I was doing coins on the side there. Any weekend I'd have off, I'd work for a coin shop called Corner Coin and Jewelry in Fort Collins, Colorado, and learned a lot there, and just tried to keep up with the coins as I was going along. But the meat cutting part of it was taking up the majority of my time, so really couldn't focus on coins like I wanted to. But whatever inventory I had, I just had it put up, just waiting for this career to come through, and it finally did. So,
yeah. So you spent most of your time working the week, kind of, at the grocery store, managing, and then you on the weekends kind of move that more towards understanding, organizing deals, but also understanding what you were buying, diagnostics on coins, and then you kind of saw that big leap to being able to do it full time. At what age did you say you probably could do it full time?
Started doing full time, like I said, about 25 years ago. So I don't know how old I was then. I was probably, 30. I was in my 30s when I went full time. So
that's great, being able to start it young, because I know a lot of dealers, once they say they retire, they're going to do something or take a leap of faith and get into the coin hobby. What was a really cool coin? Because you mentioned the GSAs. What's one of the coolest GSAs that you own?
I have the only 1893S silver dollar in a soft pack in the blue envelope. That's the only one known. And as much as they're worth, you'd think that there would be another one come out if there was one, and there very possibly could be one somewhere. But I'm thinking this is probably the only one there is. It's the one I have. I've owned it for about 7 years now.
So what was the initial story in being able to pick up that coin and being able to keep it?
Leon Hendrickson, the owner of Silvertown, he bought it from the original owner. And, of course, all those soft packs sold for $3 a piece. So somebody got the 93S for $3.
Wow.
And he actually put a note in his handwriting with that coin that said, "Can you believe someone bought this for $3?" I've still got the note too. But after he passed away, his grandsons called me and want me to put a number on the coin to give them my best shot. Said they had a few other GSA guys that were bidding on it too. So I rounded up every penny I had and called them, told them this is what I could pay for it, and they said, "You won, so come get it." So I drove to Indiana and picked it up, and that was one of the funnest days I've had. That was pretty cool to get up there and pick up that special coin.
That's awesome. Yeah, and since we're on GSAs, if someone were to come by your table today, at a show, what would you say you specialize in to be a, I see a lot of things at your table. What would you say one thing that you really specialize in or you really like to work with? Yeah,
the hard pack non-CC GSAs, the ones that are not Carson Cities, those are the rarest. They packaged up 27,996 of them, and those are really special, and a lot of people just don't realize what they are. There's just so few of them out there. And if you see a non-CC, it actually says United States at the top instead of Carson City. So if you see one of those, you should buy it. But of course, read about it first. Make sure you're not paying too much for it. But that's the rarest of the GSA program, is the non-CC hard pack GSA dollars.
They're tough. Yeah,
they're tough.
And there's a lot of, as you've seen over the past few years, especially since the start of the pandemic, there's been a lot of younger people that have joined the hobby and want to become dealers. Apart from, increasing their knowledge, what other advice would you have for someone that's new, starting in the hobby, that wants to eventually take it full time?
And yeah, that goes back to reading about everything that you can, especially the thing that you're most interested in. But also sit down with a seasoned dealer. Go to a show and find someone that's actually friendly, that will want to talk to you and spend some time with you, and sit down and talk with them, and see how they got started and see what advice they can give you, because you don't want to just go into it, just head first, not knowing. You got to know exactly what you're doing first, just to make sure that you're not getting in over your head, because you have to make a certain percentage in this business to make it worthwhile. And if you're not making that percentage, then you're gonna, I hate to use the word fail, but that's that's what it is. But you just need to know about what you're getting into before you do it.
So who was a mentor to you early on that kind of took you under their wing and wanted you to succeed? Did you have any mentors early on?
I didn't really have anybody in particular. There's just so many people that I've made friends with over the years that just know so much about coins, and I try to talk to all of them to learn as much as I could with them. But there's nobody in particular that I could name.
Right. Well, when we were at Ralph's and Keiko's, me and Casey, everyone, when we were talking and sitting with people, it was like, how many times, a week or a month you get to sit down with a bunch of people that are successful in their field and listen to what they have to say, and then become better people and better dealers because of it. And so it was a real honor to sit down with you guys there and also go to the show with you. What are kind of some shows that you're going to in the future that somebody can, sit down with you and maybe show you some stuff, or they can buy some stuff from you?
Yeah, the one coming up, the Tyler show that's coming up this weekend. I mean, the smaller shows is probably your best bet to be able to sit down and talk to somebody that knows a lot about the business. They're going to have more time to talk with you. The bigger shows, like the Fun Show in Florida, the Long Beach show, it's just so busy. It's hard to get time. And by the time the shows are with, they're going to dinner and then they go to bed. So there's really no time to talk. But the smaller shows, if you got a local show and you got a dealer that you deal with, take them to dinner, sit down and talk with them and just get as much information from them as you can, because it'll help you in the long run.
Yeah, I think so. And so if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, wanted to get in contact with you, and just maybe to ask them about, because I've seen you on a few videos talking about Morgan Dollar sets, you've sat down with us and talked to us about a few things. How would someone get in contact with you as someone of a resource to learn from, or maybe bringing a collection to you?
Yeah, you can contact me with my email. It's Rodney Levingston 1963 at gmail.com, or you can call me at 214-679-5527. And name of my business is K&R Rare Coins. But just call me anytime, and I'll if I can get to the phone, I'll definitely answer it and talk to you about it.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a story that we heard at Ralph's and Keiko's, which is when you tell them about when you used to work at Brookshire Brothers and when someone was caught stealing, and how that kind of transcended into looking out at shows and, kind of picking up on people that may be sticking out to other dealers that are not paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah. The company I worked for, Brookshire's, they had a contest where anybody in the company could get into the contest, and for every shoplifter you caught, you got $10. Well, it got to be pretty competitive there at the end, and it came down to me and this other girl that was working in the Longview area, and I don't remember exactly the number, but she had like 1,200 and something shoplifters, and I had just like 10 or 15 under her, and I was kind of catching her there at the end, but she wound up winning the contest. I got second place, but it taught me a lot about watching other people, because you can kind of tell what they're thinking, you just kind of by their actions.
Right. How many shoplifters do you think did you get a day when you were working there?
I was catching on average 12 to 15 every day. It was just crazy. And even though the word was out, they were still coming in doing it because they were so used to getting away with it. And then once we put the hammer down, it kind of
leveled out.
Yeah, it kind of leveled off. So, but there at the beginning, I was catching 30, 35. There was one day I caught 35, 36 shoplifters.
So the question is, when you were working back then, did you make more money catching shoplifters than you did working your, what they would pay you an hour or a salary?
I did, especially on those first few days. I was tearing it up there those first few days. But yeah, it was crazy. It was, and this was back in 1985, 86, 87, and the way things are today, you can't just go up to somebody and say, look, you're shoplifting, come with me. We were doing that back then, but things have changed so much now. So, but there's so many lawsuits that could be filed now. So it's something you got to be careful with.
You can't wrangle them up like you used to back then.
You can't wrangle them now. Yeah.
And so how did that because you were telling me, I think, was it at the fun show or was it a different show that somebody was kind of stealing from people?
Yeah, it was a Long Beach show. It was a gentleman that was, he was going from table to table, and he was real sneaky about it. He was pretty good because the other guys didn't notice, but I could see it in his eyes that he was up to something. So I started watching him, and he would look at a coin and flip it off the table into his bag underneath. So when he did that, he saw that I was watching him, and he took off to go to the next table, and he seen that I was coming after him. I jumped over the table, and he took off running. And I tackled him at the front door, and that kind of pleased everybody because most everybody was clapping. But he had like 12 or 13 people's coins in his other dealers' coins in his bag.
Yeah, so back then it used to be like someone's lifting cigarettes or stealing some other things, and then you would get $10 for it. But now I guess when you're at a show, the stakes are higher.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's high for everybody. So if we can eliminate that, everybody's better off. But it's going to go on. It's going to go on from now till whenever. But just got to keep your eyes open and kind of watch other people's eyes and see if you feel like they're up to something. Just watch them, and don't let them have an open bag at their knees, underneath the table. That's a good sign right there. It's a red flag. So just be careful.
Yeah, and so some people say Rodney's the first one to be there and the last one to leave. What are kind of some safety things that you try to pick up on, try to share with other dealers to make sure that they aren't taking advantage of at shows? Because I know that you're more of a younger guy at the show as opposed to other dealers. What can they pick up on and learn from you that would keep them more safe? Well,
the main thing is just watching your surroundings. Make sure there's nobody watching you. If there's somebody, over to the side sitting in a car, maybe minding their own business, pay attention to that, because that could be something that could develop later on into they might follow you home. They might be up to something. So just be careful. And when you're leaving a show, especially watching your rearview mirrors, just make sure that there's nobody following you. If you feel like somebody's following you, make a few turns and go around the block to, wherever you're at. And if you feel like they're still following you, find out where the police station is, go straight to the police station, and they won't follow you no more. They'll keep on going, but just got to be careful.
What have been one of the toughest stories that you've heard from someone being taken advantage of a show of all the years that you've been at shows?
Well, there's been several dealers that have been taken advantage of and been stolen from at shows. One of the most popular dealers around here, he got his money bag stolen from him, and it was a couple of they call them gypsies, and they were watching him. And he was putting his money bag in the showcase behind him, but he didn't lock it. And when he wasn't looking, one of the others got his attention, and the other two went behind him, took it out of the case, and took off. And he just wasn't paying attention. I've seen that happen to a couple of different dealers. One at the Fun Show, and then one at Grapevine. So it's just a matter of paying attention to your surroundings. If you feel if you feel uneasy about something, then there's probably something going on you need to pay more attention to.
Yeah, trust your gut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so trusting your gut's a good thing. What's kind of one of the biggest deals that you've ever worked on yourself personally, and what are some things that you might have learned from it?
It was a couple of years ago. I bought a pretty sizable deal in Dallas, and that was another one that kind of made me nervous because it was so big that I had to carry it in my car, and I was watching my rearview mirror like a hawk, just making sure that nobody was following me. I mean, even though I was pretty sure nobody was, but in such a big city like Dallas, you just don't know. And that's the biggest thing, is just your surroundings. You got to be careful. Just got to be just extra careful. And I'm always armed, so it's just a matter of practicing, making sure you know how to use that firearm,
right?
And not pull it until it's necessary.
Yeah, it's the right timing for sure, and just being able to understand that. What were kind of some of the details of the deal that you worked on that made it so interesting?
Well, it was an older couple. The husband had passed away, and the lady wasn't sure what to do with it, so she called around. She actually did her due diligence. She called several dealers to make sure that she was getting the right person, and my name came up, and I was fortunate enough to get to bid on the collection, and my bid was the highest, so I got to win it, and I was just in the right place at the right time, and it was just it was a gold deal, and there was a lot of $20 Saints and libs and stuff like that, but what a tremendous deal. It was just it's kind of a once in a lifetime, I'm sure. That stuff doesn't come up very often.
A lot of people are praying for that type of deal.
Oh, sure, and I was fortunate enough to get it, so it was good.
Have you ever had any tough times with coin dealing, or is there any time that in particular where it was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to continue doing this, or was it all kind of just like a upward trend, or like a mountain almost?
I think I set myself up to where it turned out really, really nice for me. I haven't really had any really tough times with them. I know some people have, but I think I actually studied enough and learned what I needed to learn before I really dove into this thing, and it's actually worked out pretty good. I know how to manage my money, and it's just a matter of just taking care of the business,
Yeah, it's bringing the right cards to the table in a way to ensure that everything goes well.
Sure.
Oh,
sure.
And so what are some other hobbies that you have that kind of get your mind off of just working all the time?
Well, that's another thing about money management. I like to play poker. I play poker out at the World Series of Poker every year, and you really have to learn how to manage your money doing that, because it'll take you down if you're not careful. And when you're on the poker table, you got to manage your chips. You got to make sure that you're just not giving them to everybody, and it really works back into the money management part of it. But that's probably my funnest hobby, is the playing poker.
Would you say that poker almost, because there's certain ways I feel like to understand somebody or get to know somebody? One of the ways is talking, but is it also the same way with poker, but in a different way? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, because you get to read people. They're reading you. They're trying to figure out your mannerisms and trying to figure out if you're bluffing them, or if you're actually do have the hand they think you have, and you really get to learn people without any words at all. You can learn kind of what they're thinking, and it's just if you play with them long enough, you can figure it out.
Yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, maybe Rodney studies some of his opponents, but there's probably so many people that come out that it's hard to do that.
Yeah, in the bigger tournaments, that's really hard to do, because you're changing tables, and once you learn the other 8 or 9 people that are at your table, then they pick you up and they move you to another table, and you got to figure out what those people are doing. So it's really hard to do that. But at the smaller tournaments, you can kind of, if you play with them long enough, you can figure it out, and you'll be less likely to lose all your chips.
Oh. Well, I have one final question for you. It's kind of I don't know if it's a touchy one or a tough one, but if you passed away tomorrow, what would be one word someone would describe Rodney Levingston as?
that's tough because I'm trying to describe myself, and when you're trying to describe yourself, you don't want to be. I try to be humble. I really do, but I don't know. Some people say interesting because I don't have a normal job, and I do pretty much what I want to do, and I've got free time where I can do what I want to do, But that's a tough one. I don't know how to describe myself, what they would say about me, but I would hope it would be something good.
Yeah, maybe shoot for humble and interesting.
Yeah, that's two good words. I could go for that.
Yeah, because anything that you touch, what I say, anything that Rodney touches turns to gold.
No, that's not true at all.
Every time I hear it, it's like, man, there's, like when I was talking about that, you were talking about that, I think NGC or PCGS box from way back, and how it,
Oh yeah, the NGC box, yeah.
Tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, actually, when NGC started in 1987, I sent in one silver dollar to be graded. It was in 1880. What was it? No, it was in 1887. I think I can't remember now. No, I'm sorry. It was an 1880S. There was an overdate, the 80/9, and they didn't attribute it. So I called up John Albanese and asked him if he would take another look at the coin. He said, yeah, send it back to him. So I did that, and when I got the coin back, they sent it in a styrofoam box. It was an original styrofoam box with the NGC logo on top, and I didn't think much of it. It was just a styrofoam box, so I threw it in the back of my safe and forgot about it. And several years ago, I found it, pulled it out, and decided I would just bring it to the fun show to see if I could find out something about it. Took it to the NGC booth, and they said, well, we've heard about them and never seen one before, so they were all excited about it. And I had a gentleman come up, and he actually talked me out of the box and wound up buying it from me. So I kind of wished I'd have kept it, but it's being shared with other people that I wouldn't have been able to share with. So at least other people are getting to see it.
Yeah, it's a really good story. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Rodney, for sitting down with us and being able to talk with us. Make sure you guys, if you want to check out Rodney, talk to Rodney, all of his information will be below. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts on what discussion we had today, and we'll see you guys in the next one.